Welcome to the GED Report. I'm Doug Marola. I am your host. This episode is sponsored by Udemy, Udemy. They are an online teaching program where you can teach your class the thing that you are good at, you can do on video. You don't need a palatial, ostentatious studio like the one I'm in. You could be in your living room or in the hallway or in the guest mansion of your chateau and do a class, teach it, and post it up on Udemy. They have standards, they're careful, they vet your material, and then you can have your material online for sale. I recommend it highly, udemy.com. I have my ACT and Literacy Bootcamp on Udemy. This is one of the small bits of information that you can multiply by whatever magnitude you wish, and then go into why a struggling district like the one where I work has large numbers of failure. It has a large percentage of failure. You have a system that is broken, and this is just one small piece, and you can multiply it by whatever magnitude you wish, and you can see why things are not working in the public school. I'm a public school high school teacher, and I had a meeting yesterday, a special education meeting for a student, and it was indicative of what's going on, so I have to share it with you so you know. Young woman my student came from the West Indies, and she was 16 when she came to the United States. Her father had come earlier when she was in grade school, and he'd worked here in the United States, worked hard, and sent money down there to go to school. You as an American have been taught that everything is free, and it's all free, and everywhere it should be free, and everything is free. Well, you know what? The rest of the world doesn't work like that. The rest of the world hasn't lost its mind, and you actually have to pay for things of value. Education, a good one, costs. So he sent money down for almost 10 years to have her go to school. And she graduated every grade and came to the United States and comes into high school at around age 16 as a teenager. Not as a ninth grader, not as a freshman, but older. Well, right away, this young lady's literacy skills and math skills are seen and shown to be very low. So a couple of teachers, this is now 4 years ago, go to the guidance counselor and say, look, this young lady's skills are really poor. She's not very literate. Her math levels are very low, very below grade level, and she needs help. So the guidance counselor moves heaven and earth to get this person's services, to get her services, right? She needs remedial work in English, in literacy, in math, basic academic skills, because without those, none of the other classes are going to work. If you're in a history class learning about American history or global history, and English is a problem, you're not going to do well. If you have trouble with addition and subtraction, multiplication and division, you can't do algebra, which is a required class in high school, and there's a test at the end of the class. So the guidance counselor does the job and starts getting these things going, including an education, a special education classification, where the student would be classified as special education and then qualifies for extra services, extra literacy help, extra math help, extra labs, things like that, extra time on tests. That's how this works. Well, a random event happened to the guidance counselor, and he was, in effect, put on sabbatical. That was 2 years ago, maybe more. I was in a meeting with the student's aunt and father. Remember, the father has been here for many years, working to get his children through school in Jamaica, and then here he works in the States and sends his daughter to the local high school. Well, the guidance counselor kind of put on forced sabbatical, had done this job and gotten these wheels spinning, and no one had ever done anything else. I was in a meeting with this woman, the aunt, and I could not believe what I heard. She had talked about the guidance counselor helping out her daughter, and she said since he was on sabbatical, she had heard nothing from the school. No guidance counselor, no social worker, no literacy expert, no teacher, no administrator, assistant principal, superintendent. Nobody had contacted her about her daughter. Well, in this case, it's her niece. Here's the thing. The aunt is justifiably angry, and she's a smart, good woman. She was angry about what happened in the West Indies, because how, if the skills of the daughter are so low, how did she get moved through? What were her grades like? Could we see a test? How do you move up through the ranks in school without being capable? Then, here we are in the United States, and you have silence. So now, remember, student came to the United States, she was 16, she's now 20. She's now 20. In American school, the year you turn 20 and you're a general education, a regular education student, that year, that school year, at the end of that school year, you're done. You age out. You're kicked out. If you're a special education student, you age out in the school year, you turn 21. So here's the thing. Now it's showtime. This young lady is going to be kicked out of school, and she has no math or English skills. Nothing. There's no one to help her. She's about done. She has about 5 weeks to go. It's early May as I say this. And in June, it's game over. You're done. Out of 22 and a half credits, she has single digits. There's no state exit exam that's been passed, Regents exams. And here's the crazy part. This person's in classes now, history class, Spanish class. And I looked at her grades, and she's getting in the mid-70s in some classes. I don't know how that's possible. And again, I'm not talking that these are people who are beasts and they're trying to hurt somebody and they want this person to be hurt in any way academically or intellectually. I don't work with demons. But the system is set up so that you have tenured teachers who cannot be fired. I could give this young lady a 90 every marking period. She's without skill. It would be a silly grade to give. It would be like giving a young child a 90 in 11th grade English. But I wouldn't be fired. I don't think anyone would even ask me any questions. So you have an educational disservice going on, and you have now a 20-year-old legal immigrant to the United States, and she's going to really be struggling. And the school system has completely failed her. The aunt heard nothing for 2 years. And then I and a couple other people, when this young lady got put in our class, were like, hey, wait a minute. She's older than your average senior, and she should be classified as special education. This doesn't really make any sense. And so, but too little, too late. Not to toot my own horn, but how is a 25-year veteran, broken down English teacher, and there are a couple of colleagues of mine as well, who at the beginning of this school year said, hey, wait a minute, what's going on here? That stuff is all supposed to get caught. Your public education system that you think is going to provide wonderful things to amazing people. And the progressives out there, public education is better. Public education is where it's at. You have no idea what you're talking about. You have no clue what's going on. And I'm in the black neighborhood. And by the way, everybody in this story except the guidance counselor who worked his tail off to try to get her services, everyone except him is black. He's white. Not that this race thing means anything to me. I didn't say that. I told myself I would tell you this because Johnny and Susie Progressive seem to think that race is the do-all, end-all of everything. And these evil white folk are crushing the United States and they've got white privilege and white stuff and all this nonsense that your globalist media overlords keep spoon feeding you. It's really disgusting. You should not listen to them. But my point is, the system is broken. And this system has failed this young woman. I disagree with public education. I think it should all be private. I think tenure should be abolished, and I think parents should find the greatest teachers and they should pay them what they're worth. And then good teachers would make a killing. But it doesn't work that way. And the system that you think is great is not so great. And it's broken. And this one example, there's now going to be a woman in her early 20s who's majority helpless. And she's being cast out. And no one said anything. And no one could be bothered to help except for a few people. And now you've got the statistics rolling in. What's going to happen? I don't know. But you think it's great, and it's not. Talk to you next time.